How do IAM roles secure AWS EC2, S3, and RDS Access? Imagine you have a safe with a key that only works for a limited time and only for certain items inside. That's similar to how IAM roles work in Amazon Web Services. They help keep your cloud resources safe by giving temporary, controlled access. Instead of sharing long-term passwords or access keys, you attach these roles to your virtual machines or databases. When an EC2 instance starts, it can assume a role that grants it permission to do specific tasks, like reading data from a storage bucket or connecting to a database. These permissions are defined by policies attached to the role, which specify exactly what actions are allowed. One big advantage is that these credentials are temporary and automatically rotate. That means your applications don't have to store or manage long-term keys, which can be risky if they get exposed. When an EC2 instance needs to access an S3 storage bucket, it assumes a role that has read-only permissions for that bucket. If it needs to connect to an RDS database, it assumes a role with the right permissions to do so. This setup keeps your environment secure because it limits what each resource can do and prevents accidental or malicious misuse. Managing permissions centrally is another benefit. If you want to change what a role can do, you update the policy once, and all instances or services using that role get the update automatically. This makes it easier to keep permissions consistent and up to date. It also removes the need to distribute or embed credentials directly in your code or on your instances, which can be a security risk. IAM roles follow the principle of least privilege, meaning you only give the permissions needed for the task. For example, a web server running on an EC2 instance might only need to read files from a specific S3 bucket. It doesn't need full access to all resources, so you create a role with just those permissions. This way, even if the instance is compromised, the attacker's access is limited. These roles work seamlessly across AWS services. For example, when you launch an EC2 instance, you can assign a role that allows it to interact with other services like S3 or RDS without exposing sensitive credentials. This setup is especially useful in DevOps environments, where automation tools need to access resources securely. In summary, IAM roles keep your AWS environment safe by providing temporary, scoped permissions to EC2 instances, S3 buckets, and RDS databases. They simplify permission management, reduce the risk of credential leaks, and help you follow security best practices. This makes your cloud infrastructure more secure, flexible, and easier to manage over time.